أولى ثانوي، فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد، وهنعديها بالتأكيد. أولى ثانوي.
Dear secondary stage students, year 1, welcome to our English program and welcome to our channel Madrasetna 3 under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. Today we are going to study together part 2 of Unit 9. This is the section in which we are going to study grammar. We are going to study together the difference between the past simple tense and the past perfect tense. What is the difference between these two tenses and how can we use them correctly? Let's start together. Our objectives for this lesson, we are going to use the past simple tense and express the past habits or something finished in the past. We are going to use the past perfect tense to show the sequence of actions. The past simple and the past perfect are used to show the sequence of action, which action came first in the past. So look at these two sentences and tell me the difference. What is the difference between these two sentences? When I reached the airport, the plane left. When I reached the airport, the plane had left. In the first sentence, we have two verbs in the past simple. But in the second sentence, we have one action in the past simple and another action in the past perfect. What is the difference between the two sentences in meaning? The first one, it means that I managed to catch the plane. When I reached the airport, the plane left. Means the moment I reached, the plane left. At the same time when the plane reaches the station, or at the same time when I reached the station, the plane left, so I managed to catch my plane. What about the second one? I missed my plane. I didn't catch my plane. Why? Because when I reached the airport, the plane had left. What does it mean it had left? Means it left before I arrived. So when we use the past perfect tense, it means that it is the action which happened first. So which one happened first? The plane had left, so I didn't catch it or I missed it. Okay? We're going to explain this more in the following sentences. But first of all, let's discuss what is the past simple and why we use the past simple. The past simple expresses something which finished in the past. Look at this example. My father built this house 10 years ago. 10 years ago, my father built a house. So it's something that was finished in the past. Number two, to express a series of action in the past. Number of actions in the past. So we can say Oliver Twist slept in the field, ate very little, and the people gave him food. So three actions in the past, one after another. I can say I got up early today, I took my breakfast, then I went out. So three actions in the past. Number of actions, series of action behind each other in the past. Here we use the past simple tense. Number three, we can use the past simple tense to express past habit. Past habit. When I was young, I went to school on foot every day. So it was my habit to go to school on foot every day. When I was young, I went. So here we use went to express past habit. So what is the form of the past simple? Of course, you know that there are regular verbs which end with d, ed, or ied. And there are irregular verbs like see, so, give, gave, take, took. So it's the second form of the verb. How can we form the negative? We use didn't plus verb infinitive. So I say, I didn't go to school yesterday. What about the interrogative? When we ask a question, again, we use did plus verb infinitive. So we say, did you go to school yesterday? So when we use did or didn't, we must use the verb infinitive. So, did you go? No, I didn't go. Did you go to school yesterday? No, I didn't go to school yesterday. What about the past simple passive? When we use the passive form in the past simple, we use was or were plus past participle. So we can say they watched a film last night. This is active voice. When we start with the object, they watched the film. If we start with a film, so we will say a film was watched. A film was watched yesterday, or a film was watched last night. So in the active form, we use the second form of the verb, we watched. But when we use the passive form, when we start with the object, we use verb to be in the past plus past participle. The film was watched yesterday. Now let's look at some exercises on the past simple tense. Last year we to the beautiful city of Venice in Italy. Of course, here we have a key word which expresses the past simple, last year. So when we use the word last, or yesterday, or ago, or once, we use the past simple tense. So here we will say, last year we traveled to the beautiful city of Venice. Last year we traveled. Question number 2. Anna to the class yesterday. Again, here we have the key word yesterday. So Anna to the class yesterday because she was at the hospital. So here again, we use the past simple tense. We will say Anna didn't come, doesn't come, don't come, or wasn't come. Of course, we will say Anna didn't come to school, or Anna didn't come to the class yesterday. Question number 3. It was snowing last night. It's so cold. It was snowing last night. It was raining. It was snowing. It's so cold. We are talking about last night. Again, there is a key word which expresses the past simple tense. So we will say it touched, it felt, it happened, or it had. Of course, we say it felt so cold. It means we felt so cold last night. It felt cold, it means the weather was very cold. We felt that the weather was very cold. Question number 4. When I went on holiday, I always a lot of photographs. Do you remember we said that we use the past simple tense to express a past habit? So here we have the word always. Always expresses a habit, but it is a habit in the past. When I went on holiday, or when I was young, so it's a habit in the past. So we use the past simple. So we say, when I went on holiday, I always took a lot of photographs. Question number 5. Omar across the Sahara last year. Omar was cycling, cycles, or cycled. Again, we have the key word last year. So again, we use the past simple tense, Omar cycled. Okay? So as you see, the past simple tense is very easy. We use it with last, ago, once, yesterday, when I was young, and so on. Question number 6. Ahmad's grandmother ill when he visited us yesterday. Ahmad's grandmother ill when he visited her yesterday. Ahmad's grandmother had seemed, was seeming, or seemed. Again, here we have a key word, yesterday. So we use the past simple tense. So we'll say Ahmad's grandmother seemed ill. And you remember that the verb seem cannot be used in the continuous tense. We cannot say Ahmad's grandmother was seeming. We cannot say that because the verb is a state verb. We cannot use it in the continuous tense. Now let's look at the past perfect. Let's look at the timeline. Look at this picture which shows the timeline of tenses. It shows the connection between the present, the past simple, and the past perfect. So the present time is the time we are there, we are here in the present. And what happened yesterday, this is the past. What happened before that is the past perfect. So in order to imagine what is the past perfect, we can say that the present is the thing which happened today, for example. or the thing which usually happens every day. What about the past simple? The thing which happened yesterday or last year. What about the past perfect? For example, if I say, yesterday before I came to school, I had done a lot of exercise. Before I came, I had done. So there is an action, I came to school, and before that, I had done exercise. So here we have the sequence of tenses on the timeline. Which comes first in the past? The past perfect comes first, then the past simple, then the present. Now look at the past perfect. Let's discuss together the past perfect tense to express an action that happened before another action in the past. When I had sent the email, I turned off the computer. We have keywords to express the past perfect, like after, as soon as, when, these words which show two actions. After she had arrived, she phoned me. Or as soon as she had arrived, she phoned me. So something happened first, she arrived first, we put it in the past perfect, and then she phoned me, we put it in the past simple. We have the word till or until. Again, after it we use the past perfect, and before it we use the past simple. So if you look at the word till or until, after it we use the past simple, and before it we use, after until we use the past perfect, and before it we use the past simple. So here I say, I didn't go out until I had finished. So which happened first? I had finished the homework first, then I went out. So we can say, after I had finished, I went out. Or I didn't go out until I had finished. And as you see, before until we use the negative form. I didn't go out until I had finished my homework. Again, we have other keywords like the word before, by the time, and when. After the word before, we use the past simple, and then we use the past perfect. As you see, before she phoned me, she had arrived home. So which happened first? She had arrived first, and then she phoned me. So again, we use the past perfect tense to show the action which happened first. If we find after the word before or the word after, there is no subject. If there is no subject, we use the gerund or the verb ing. For example, here we say before she phoned, past simple, before she phoned me, she had arrived. But here we say before phoning me, she had arrived. Before phoning. Why did we use the gerund or the form ing here? Because there is no subject. Before she phoned, before phoning. Again here, after she had arrived, after arriving. So if before and after, when there is no subject, after the word after or the word before, we use the verb ing. So we can say before phoning or after arriving. What is the passive form of the past perfect? The passive form, we use had been. So here we can say they had studied English. What is the passive? English had been studied. So here, when we use the passive, we start with the object. We use been after had been, and the past participle. So the active form, they had studied English, and the passive form, English had been studied. They had studied English, English had been studied. Now let's answer some exercises on the past perfect tense. I didn't see my friend when I arrived at her house. She out. Look at the sentence carefully. Here he said, I didn't see my friend. I didn't see my friend. It means when I arrived at the house, my friend had left, had gone. So I didn't see him. So this is the action which happened first. I didn't see my friend. Why? Because when I arrived, she had gone. She had gone. This is the first action, so we use it in the past perfect tense. Let's look at question number 2. By the age of 10, I to swim. By the age of 10 means when I was 10. When I was 10, I had learned to swim. It means before that age, before I became 10 years old, I had learned to swim. So again, this is the first action. Question number 3, I didn't write to my friend until his letter. Do you remember the word until? We said that before until we use the past simple negative, and after until we use the past perfect. So I didn't write to my friend until I had received his letter. What does it mean? It means that I had received the letter first, then I write to my friend. I received the letter, then I replied to this letter. So the first action is used in the past perfect tense. Again, when do we use the past perfect tense, had plus past participle? We use it with the first action, with the action which happened first in the past. So I didn't write to my friend until I had received his letter. Question number 4. After the match, the players jumped with joy. After. Here, which tense are we going to use? After. Would win, winning, win, or had won. Many students would make a mistake in this sentence. When they see after, they use had won. Because they remember this rule, they say after is followed by the past perfect tense. But this is not correct. Why? Because here we don't have a subject. If there is a subject here, if we say after they, we will say after they had won. But here there is no subject. So when there is no subject, we use the gerund. We say after winning the match. After winning the match. What does it mean after winning? It means after they had won. So if there is a subject, we will use had won. But if there is no subject, we use the gerund. Let's look at another example. Before, for London, he had paid off his debts. Before, for London. Again here, the same rule. We don't have a subject here. So we are going again to use the verb plus ing. Before leaving for London. Before leaving for London. Okay, if there is a subject like he or she, before he, we will say before he left. So if there is a subject, we are going to use the past simple. But if there is no subject, we are going to use the gerund. So remember this rule well. After the word before or after the word after, if there is no subject, we use the gerund. Okay? We're going to discuss more about the past simple and the past perfect, but we are going to do that on the light board. Let's go together. In this lesson, we talked about the grammar, we talked about the past simple and the past perfect. Let's discuss together some more words with which we use the past perfect. We have the word no sooner than, hardly when, scarcely when. So all these expressions are used with the past perfect. So here we use, after these verbs, after these expressions, we use the past perfect. Then we use the past simple. But there is something very important about these expressions. If we started the sentence with these words, we will have a question form. For example, if I said, no sooner had I studied, no sooner had I studied than I went out. here we have the word no sooner at the beginning of a sentence. So we should use the past perfect but in a question form, interrogative form. We say had I, not I had. No sooner had I studied than I went out. So if you use the word no sooner, the word hardly, the word scarcely at the beginning of a sentence, you should use a question form. Had I, had they, had she. And remember that every one of them is completed with a different word. No sooner is completed with than. If we use hardly, hardly had I studied, then I went out. Scarcely had I studied, then scarcely had I studied when I went out. يبقى أنا لو استخدمت no sooner هقول no sooner had I studied than. لكن لو قلت hardly هقول hardly had I studied when. ولو قلت scarcely هقول scarcely had I studied when. يبقى every one of them has a word to complete it. No sooner takes than, hardly and scarcely takes when. And remember, when you start, you use a question form. A question form, not a sentence form. Okay? As you have seen, we discussed together the difference between the past simple tense and the past perfect tense. The past simple discusses something or expresses something which finished in the past or a past happened. What about the past perfect? It expresses something which happened before another action in the past. So it usually expresses the thing which happened first in the past. I want you to answer as many questions about the grammar in order to be perfect in it. Until we meet again, wish you best of luck. Goodbye.
أولى ثانوي فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد وهنعديها بالتأكيد